characters, though, are a really important part of our story. Even if it's an epistolary piece and you don't really have a character on the page, as it were, where the story is coming from is really critical. We want our characters to come off the page as living, breathing people that are going to take up residence in our readers' minds, either as heroes or villains or somewhere in between. Um, I quite often fail with my characters in being mean enough to them. I'm making them struggle enough because I get precious with them. So we have to make our characters suffer because that suffering is what brings about the cathartic moment in the reader. That emotional release has to come from a moment of tension. And if we don't create tension in the reader, then there's going to be nothing to release. So another mistake is that the character kind of exists only on the page and doesn't have a life before the story begins and after the story ends. They just exist for the parameters of the manuscript. And that can readers feel that they can sense it as they're reading that this person doesn't feel realized. Another mistake is overpowered or underpowered characters, especially in fantasy, where you either have somebody who has so much magic and so much power that all of their problems are kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? Oh, right, I have a spell for this. Or, in science fiction, and, as an example, it can happen in any genre, of course, but being too underpowered and having to have the solution be some miraculous invention that only this person understands, so it can't really be explained on the page. And then suddenly you're like, well, but that's not very satisfying as a reader to have this kind of Deus ex machina kind of thing come in and fix all the characters' problems. So think about the people that you know in your life. Don't explicitly copy them, but go ahead and copy the people in your life because it's easier to go, I'm going to kind of base this on my brother because he's kind of a turd sometimes. And then you can kind of put the mannerisms in there and it's going to make the characters feel more realized. Everybody has things that they're good at, everybody, and everybody has things that they suck at, except Superman. And that's the point of the character of Superman, is that he's overpowered. That's the function that he plays in that world and those stories. For some examples on character building, I really recommend Brandon Sanderson and Stephen King. They're both extremely gifted at creating realistic feeling people on the page, people with wants and needs and hopes and dreams and fears and disgusting little habits and that feel real. We all have disgusting little habits, but quite often as writers, we don't want to put somebody picking their nose on the page because we're embarrassed by the thought of that, or we're afraid that the reader will be turned off by that. But in actuality, things like that make characters come to life and make them more sympathetic and more identifiable for readers. A good question to ask, and something that I think about a lot, especially with my long form work. Short fiction, they are a little bit cardboard, right? Like you want them to feel real, but novel characters have to be fully realized characters, especially if they're primary characters. And so I'll think about, what would my character be doing right now if the inciting incident had not happened? Where would they have gone? What would they have done? Who would they have met? Who wouldn't they have met? What was my character doing 5 minutes before I started this story? And what are they going to do 5 minutes after the story ends? And if you can really easily imagine that, then not only may it give you some insight into your character as they come to life in your mind, but it's going to help you fill those details in on the page and make them seem more realistic.